The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We have got an incredible show. Both halves of the show today are probably one of our top shows. We're going to have Dr. Taylor on. He's with the Taylor Medical Group. And we talk about functional medicine. We talk about weight loss. It has become top 3 of all of our shows. So we have decided, along with Dr. Taylor, to offer the show in every one of our markets. So it won't be just limited to 3 or 4 markets. We are going to be in every single market. This is our first show that we'll be offering in all the markets. And in our second half, hey, if you got a snoring problem, you have a friend that's got a snoring problem, we have by far the greatest expert when it comes to stop snoring. In fact, this normally doesn't happen, but I had a snoring problem. They put me on a CPAP machine, and with our second half guest, Janet Bennett, I'm going to tell you how I got off the CPAP machine. So we are waiting for Dr. Taylor. I'm sure he will be with us any minute. We talk about functional medicine, and I'm going to actually let Dr. Taylor do the functional medicine and explain to you what that is. He is a OB-GYN doctor by trade. He went to one of the finest medical schools in the United States, did his internship and residency at one of the finest hospitals in the United States, and a very successful OB-GYN doctor that decided years ago that he wanted to get more involved in functional medicine, hormone replacement. And all I can tell you is his show has become one of the most popular shows we have. I guess, Rebel, we're still waiting for Dr. Taylor to come on.
Yes, we are.
And we are still waiting for him?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, I need to resend him. This is how we get on air. I need to resend him the link, which I'll do right now, but that's never done during a live show. Let me just do this real fast. Dr. Taylor's actually been with us for almost 2 years now. And I'm telling you, I love doing the show. It goes by really, really fast. He just said the link doesn't work. Well, I know it does because that's how I got on the show. I'm sorry about this, folks. Hey, this is what happens when you have a live show. Things like this happen. We are going to get it straightened out here. Um,
And while
okay.
Steve does that, I'd like to remind you to become an expert on the X the Expert Show. You can call 954 336 3767 or email Stephen at xtheexpertsradioshow.com.
Rebel, are your eyes going bad?
No, a little bit, maybe.
Mine.
Why? Did I miss something? Dr. Taylor's here.
No, you did right. Sometimes when I pause, it's because I have to look at the screen closer because I don't have my glasses on, and I'll pause.
I have my glasses on, but my screen is sideways to me, so I had to move
Oh.
phone to see. But Dr. Taylor's here.
Oh, good. Let me just get back to, okay. Oh, I just gave you the most incredible opening that you missed.
Yeah, there was a little confusion here. I think we were scheduled for yesterday, and I was in the office, and then I thought you had me scheduled for a little later, and I wasn't going to be able to make it. So it was, well, I'm here now. It was a little
Dr.
confusion.
Taylor, let me tell you something. You have what's called, and you'll understand this, you have carte blanche on this show.
Well, good. Well, I'm
So
glad
if we need to change, and I was just telling people that your show now has become so popular that we're modulating your show throughout the country.
Okay. Well, great. Well, good. That's great to hear.
So I was starting off telling people about how you went to such a great medical school and your internship and residency and how you started off as a OBGYN doctor and you discovered something that made you want to change your whole area of practice.
Yeah. Well, primarily it was a selfish reason because my wife was going through what I now know are hormonal issues. She was having troubles with her cycles and mood swings and all of those things. And a patient came in and asked me if I knew anything about natural hormones or bioidentical hormones. And believe it or not, we don't learn that in an OBGYN residency. We learn about birth control pills and Premarin and all those kind of things. And she gave me a audio tape, a cassette tape. That's how long ago it was. And we started talking about bioidentical hormones, how hormones really work, and what about the balance in hormones. And it's like a big light bulb came on above my head. And from then on, I just took a whole different direction in my career. And for the last 20 years, I've been doing more functional type medicine where you don't wait until the patient gets sick before you do something to try and improve their health. You try and help them to function as well as they can for as long as they can. So that made a big 180-degree turn in my career. And, so here I am.
Dr. Taylor, I thought about you, and Dr. Taylor has actually treated my my fiance, and this really will help you with functional medicine. She felt like she had a lump in her throat, and she went to all kinds of doctors, and they did all kind of tests, X-rays, nothing there, but she felt it there. But all the MDs said there's nothing there. I don't know. It was almost like maybe it's something in your mind. And it turned out it was something. So people know their bodies sometimes better than the test can show.
Yeah. Especially women. Women are much more attuned to their bodies and, subtle changes. Yeah, I used to joke, women, women when they come into the office, and you ask them, so tell me what's going on. It's at least a 20-minute monologue, and they're going to tell you everything, how they feel, how they felt when this happened, and what that caused, and all of that, because they're really in tune with their bodies. When a man comes in, you ask them, so tell me what's going on. The number one thing they say is, my wife made me come in here. Is that they have no idea about anything going on with them. They don't, they don't say something's hurting or whatever. I say men, they're so out of touch. That's why they just, go ahead and they drop dead, and nobody's like, oh, I didn't know anything was wrong. But that's because they're not very in tune with their bodies. Now, let me tell you the one thing that men think is an emergency. Can you guess what that is?
ED.
Exactly. Now that is a emergency. That's bigger than a heart attack. It's bigger than anything. That's when men come to the doctor. Okay, so if that's not the issue, most men are going to avoid coming to the doctor. So that's just what I've learned over the last 20, 30 years, the difference between men and women when it comes to healthcare.
Dr. Taylor, it's funny you brought about ED. For those of you who don't know, that's erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The last couple of weeks, we've gotten 3 or 4 letters from people that watch your show that have a ED problem. They all said that they have high blood pressure. Does high blood pressure, does that go along with ED?
Yeah, well, high blood pressure goes along with ED, and high blood pressure medicine goes along with ED. So usually when you have high blood pressure, what happens is the high pressure on those arterial walls begin to harden those walls. Because what they have to do, they have to get thicker to withstand that pressure. So when they get thicker, the opening actually gets smaller. So now you're getting less blood going there, and so that can cause a problem with erections. Now, just because the opening is smaller, and so there's less blood flow that can go. Now, the other thing is that if you have high blood pressure medicine, part of the reason why you have an erection is that the pressure has to build up in the penis, and that's what keeps the erection going. Well, high blood pressure medicine is trying to keep pressure from building up. So it's avoiding that pressure build up. So now you can't have an erection because you're on high blood pressure medicine. So it's kind of it's kind of double-edged sword. But so definitely that can cause ED if the opening where the blood is supposed to go in is smaller, or if you can't build up that pressure. So that's one thing. Now, the other one is that around that artery, there's smooth muscle. And that smooth muscle is innervated by something called the parasympathetic nervous system. You have the fight or flight system, which is adrenaline, okay, which is the sympathetic nervous system. And then you have the parasympathetic nervous system that we call the rest and digest. And a man has to have parasympathetic activity. They have to be relaxed in order to let blood flow into the penis, okay? So that's why men have performance anxiety. If they're too anxious about having an erection, they won't have one. And so when men have erectile dysfunction once, they get anxious about it the next time, and then it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have to have good parasympathetic activity. So I'll tell you, I didn't quite know what we were going to talk about today, but I had a guy come in yesterday, a 70-year-old guy. He's a minister. He runs a ministry. So what he told me, he said, starting 2 years ago, he started having erectile dysfunction problems. So that means he hasn't had any problems until he was, until 68. And then at 68 to 70, all of a sudden he has these erectile problems. So I asked him what's been going on the last 2 years. He said there's been this big scandal in his church, and they're working through legal stuff. So it's just been all of this stress, and he's been totally involved in it. Lawyers involved. Yeah, it was stress. So I told him, about the sympathetic and parasympathetic, and he was like, Yeah, I was wondering if that had something to do with it. And yes, it has something to do with it. And he doesn't have any cardiovascular problems. Like I say, he's 68, he's in good health. I mean, 70, he's in good health. And all of a sudden, 2 years ago, when the stress started, his ED started because he's in fight or flight. And he said, "Yeah, that's how I feel. All these things are happening." And so he was like, okay. It helped him to understand it. And in that case, Viagra won't help him because it's not a cardiac. The Viagra opens up blood vessels, but it's through a different mechanism. So a lot of times Viagra doesn't help. Now there is a peptide, and this is what I gave him. There is a peptide called PT141. PT141 helps to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. And how you give it is that you give yourself a little injection in the stomach. You don't have to do it in the penis. It's a little injection. You give yourself the injection 6 to 8 hours prior to sexual activity. However, it lasts up to 72 hours. Now, you don't get an erection for 72 hours. That's what I'm saying. But it works for up to 72 hours. So it helps to relax the parasympathetic nervous system so you can have an erection. So that's great because you don't have to do it like right before sex or whatever. So you can take the injection on Friday morning. It should help you throughout the weekend. You could take an injection on Monday or Tuesday. It would help you through the week. So that works very well when you're dealing with a sympathetic cause of erectile dysfunction and not a cardiovascular cause. Now, like always, men, when they have that problem, they think that they need more testosterone. Now, testosterone makes you want to have sex, but it doesn't necessarily put into motion the mechanics of having an erection. The erection mechanics are controlled by the cardiovascular system and the nervous system. And testosterone is primarily working on the brain to help you to desire to have sex. So, a lot of times when there's ED, people come in for testosterone, and that doesn't necessarily uh, fix the ED problem. And I guess it could make it worse because you still want to have sex more and you still can't have an erection. So that might make the problem worse.
That is
Uh,
never a good thing, ever.
it
Hi,
looks
Dr.
like
Taylor.
Steve froze. Hey, how you doing? Look like Steve froze on us.
Yeah, he'll be back. So
Okay.
we have a question. How
Mm-hmm.
does developing type 2 diabetes have anything to do with ED? Hi,
Oh, well,
Steve.
yeah. Oh, type 2 diabetes. Now that's a kind of a double whammy. Okay. So when you have diabetes, what it does is it damages small blood vessels and it also causes neurologic dysfunction. That's why, when you have uh, diabetes, um, people have these amputations. That because it decreases blood flow and it also decreases nerve function. That's why people um, who have a diabetic foot, they can step on a nail and don't feel it. So how I was describing ED, it's a cardiovascular issue. So if blood flow is decreased because of diabetes, because you have these micro vessels, these small vessels that are getting destroyed, and you have damage to the nervous system. So now both of the systems that are involved in the mechanics of ED are damaged by diabetes. So yeah, diabetes can cause significant ED problems, and those are the hardest ones to try and correct when you have both of those issues going on. Those are the tough ones.
Dr. Taylor, you brought up about the injections, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a kidney problem, so I had to go through my uh, provider, and
Mm-hmm.
they started me on the injection, the big
Right.
O. I call it the big O,
Yeah.
and I want people to know. First of all, I've only been on it a month, but I
Mm-hmm.
have lost weight. But I read an article yesterday that they're saying that it also helps cardiac patients. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so when you lose weight, so all of the body surface area, your little heart has to pump blood to all of those 250 or 300 and 400 pounds. It has to squeeze and get blood to all of those areas. So when you are overweight, it puts stress on the heart. So by losing weight, you're going to put less stress on the heart. It's probably more likely your hypertension is going to get better, so that puts less stress on the heart. If you don't have diabetes, that doesn't clog up the vessels that give oxygen to the heart. So it's going to help that. I mean, I know there's good and bad out there about these injections, but I'm going to tell you the positive, the benefit that you get from weight loss, I think outweighs the cons of taking these shots, especially if you do have type 2 diabetes or if you do have like sleep apnea or whatever. It's all of these, most chronic illnesses are made worse if a person is overweight. Okay. So even if it's not the cause of the problem, if you have a primary respiratory problem, if you're overweight, it's going to be worse. If you have a primary cardiac problem, whatever your problem is, uh, being overweight is going to make it worse. And then there's some problems that are caused by being overweight. They are the cause. So yeah, these it's called GLP-1 type injections. Uh, I have become a proponent of them because, and I'll tell you another thing, when even the people who don't have type 2 diabetes who may use it, once they lose the weight, they get very motivated. A lot of them, I'm going to say 60% of them, get very motivated to keep the weight off. So they try to make permanent changes to their diet. They work out more. So it can be a motivating thing also.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, you do have to be patient.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm losing about 2 pounds a week, maybe. Does that sound right?
Oh yeah, 2 pounds a week. Average is 5 to 6 pounds a month. So, and the more weight you have to lose, the more you're gonna lose. So, a 300-pound person may lose 8 or 9 or 10 pounds a week, where a 200-pound person is more likely to lose 4 or 5 pounds a week. The studies show that people lose anywhere from 10 to 25% of their body weight. So some of the newer drugs, they seem to, take that up to 25%, but average it's 10 to 20% of your body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you can lose anywhere from 20 to 40 pounds. That would be anywhere from 10 to 20%. So according to, and if you, and the drug actually makes you eat better. It makes you get rid of a lot of your cravings. And if you can do
Yes.
activity some, that's going to increase your weight loss.
Well, Dr. Taylor, sorry we got a late start today, but
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor will be back again with us next month. We so appreciate your show, Dr. Taylor, and
Great.
just give everybody your phone number. And the best way to reach you is on your website.
Yeah. Yeah. You can email us at info@taylormedicalgroup.net. Our website is taylormedicalgroup.net, not .com, .net. And our telephone number is 678-443-4000. 678-443-4000.
Yes. So, if you want to have more information about the injection, give him a call. Dr. Taylor, again, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next month.
All right, great. All right, see you.
We're going to go to break, and we come back. A show that is so dear to my heart. If you snore, you want to stay with us. We will be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. Let me tell you, that I probably do the longest, what we call a monologue, when I introduce our next expert, because she changed my life. And I just, sometimes, you hear about wanting to go to the top of the mountain and scream something out. This is the expert. And she probably doesn't like me calling her an expert, but she changed my life. I had really bad sleep apnea, which means I snored. Most embarrassing thing in the world. If you snore, you know what I mean. And Janet told me she had a technique that it had this like 88 or 92% success rate. And, I had tried everything. I'm telling you, I had literally tried everything. And it came down to my doctor put me on a CPAP. I did stop snoring. But can you imagine sleeping at night with a mask on? How uncomfortable that is. So Janet started with us and she came up with these techniques that are so easy to do. You would almost think there's no way this is going to stop my snoring. Well, I'm going to tell you, it has been probably close to 3 months now that I have been completely off my CPAP machine. And it's all due to our next expert, Janet Bennett. And we're going to tell you today how you can order her service. It's so easy. Let's welcome Janet Bennett.
Hello. Good
Hey, I
morning.
have to take up half the show because I'm so unbelievably happy and feel so blessed what you've done in my life. My CPAP machine has been sitting on the floor
Oh,
because I didn't want to pack it up. It sits on the floor. Janet, I literally have not had to use it.
great.
What you have done in my life, and I want people to understand this. And Janet it's so important that I have put Janet in every single one of our markets. So we'll be replaying this show in all of our cities. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, your CPAP machine, I appreciate that you still have it on the floor. But I do. Here's the thing about this program, because it is just tongue exercises that I'll talk about in a minute. But Steve, since you have made those new tongue positions and new way to swallow, new way to breathe, you've made all those new habits. The the likelihood of you ever needing that CPAP machine is very small. And the other thing is, it means that you are in total control. You aren't dependent on anything, tape on the mouth, on the nose, or a machine. And if you were to backslide, I would say it might be because maybe you get a cold and maybe for a couple of weeks you can't breathe through your nose. So you'll start mouth breathing again. You have to. But you'll go back to your new habits now. So that's
They
really
are habits, Janet,
yeah.
because I think about when every time you come on the show, I'm looking, is my tongue on top? And it is. It's just like it's so amazing. It's
Right.
automatically stays there now.
Right. Okay. Well, let me tell the viewers and listeners what we're talking about. I'll start with my 14-year-old football player. I'm a speech pathologist, and in the year 2003, I was treating a 14-year-old football player for a tongue thrust. A tongue thrust is when someone swallows with their tongue, pushing the back of their teeth or coming out. Anyway, it can cause buck teeth and you have to get braces and all that good stuff. Anyway, so I was teaching him how to stop thrusting his tongue forward so it wouldn't hurt his teeth. he had done, I had have a 7-week program of tongue exercises. And so he had done 2 of those weeks. He was back for the 3rd week, and his mother said, "What are you doing to Adam?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, he's always been the loudest snorer in the world. He rattles our windows, if you can imagine. And now he's not making a sound," she said. So I was shocked. I didn't know anything about snoring. And I just, anyway, I turned to Adam and I said, "Well, Adam, tell me more. What is she talking about?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing better in school. My grades are better. I can concentrate better in school now, and I run faster." So when he told me that he ran faster, that really got my attention. So I ran home to a computer. That was a long time ago. And I just knew that I was going to put treatment for snoring in on the computer and find that it was treated with tongue exercises. That was all that Adam and I had been doing in speech therapy, but I didn't find that. That was nowhere to be found, and I found all these not so inviting other ways, like the CPAP machine. And back then, you looked like a Darth Vader because
Yes.
monster thing. And,
Yes.
and back then, only 4% of people who had received a CPAP machine were using it. So I always think about those other
They're
96%
uncomfortable.
people. Where are they? See, those 96%, they weren't going to go back to their doctor because they didn't want to have to use a CPAP machine. So I'm afraid they fell through the cracks. Because they wouldn't know where else to turn. Because anyway, there were some other options. Dentists could break your jaw and pull it forward,
Yes.
make your airway bigger, or dentists could make a very expensive mouth guard or retainer that would do something to keep your tongue from blocking your airway. Okay. So anyway, the tongue exercises, let me tell you, they are the easiest way to do this and
Oh,
the
they are.
least expensive for sure. So that's why I feel the need to save the world with my tongue exercises. So I'm doing it this way so that the internet can help everybody learn about it. And it's correctmytonguethrust.com or I just want to sleep.com. So the snoring,
Janet, tell people what tongue thrust is, because
tongue,
a lot of people don't know that.
well, I was just explaining the tongue thrust is when you swallow and your tongue pushes the back of your teeth. Now, a large percentage of people have a tongue thrust and they don't know it. They don't even know the phrase tongue thrust. But when you have a tongue thrust, imagine laying down to sleep, your muscles get all rested and relaxed, and you're going to sleep, and your tongue probably is too big for your mouth when you have a tongue thrust. There's not a whole lot of room in your mouth for your tongue sometimes, and a huge percentage of people have a very large tongue. So when you lay down and you're all relaxed, your tongue is very likely going to come forward and open your lips, and you will become a mouth breather if you aren't already before this even starts. But anyway, so my program really is teaching you how to breathe through your nose and teaching you how to keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth instead of on the bottom of your mouth. Those are the 2 huge things. And if it sounds too easy, it is. I know we were raised, if it sounds too good to be true, don't do it. But yes, do it because this is true. This works. It's all muscles. Your tongue is lots of different muscles. And so your exercises that you would do each week that you get with the electronic program, you can see me training an adult male how to do the exercises. You can go to another place and sit with me and do your exercises. I will do them with you, for you. I'll count or whatever needs to be done so that you aren't left there wondering, oh, am I doing this right? Or what am I supposed to do next? It's all spelled out very, very easy to understand. But the reason that mouth breathing is so important, I'm afraid that most of the population doesn't understand that either. And I just want to explain some things, some symptoms that you may have right now if you're listening or watching. If you can kind of in your mind think, oh, I think I do that. Some of the symptoms that people have whenever they use my program or come to me for help are, first of all, they snore. And so that means they're mouth breathing. It's just that air going back and forth that makes that noise. People who mouth breathe wake up with a dry mouth. It makes sense because the air. They might wake up with a sore throat and a headache that go away pretty quickly. They're probably going to wake up tired because when you mouth breathe, you take in dirty, cold air. And that dirty, cold air is not doing any good for your body. And whenever you do mouth breathe and you're trying to sleep, you are not able to get into REM sleep, REM. I know a lot of people know what that means. That's the deep, good sleep. And just imagine if you've been a mouth breather all your life, you've never really had good sleep. So right now you're sitting there. If you think about it, you'd say, yeah, I'm a little tired, but you're probably very tired. You're just used to the way you feel now because maybe you really have not experienced a good night's sleep. So some other things are you might grind your teeth or clench. You might get, or you definitely will have daytime sleepiness. If you mouth breathe while you're sleeping, around 1:30, you're probably going to get sleepy. Some people have to take a nap. Others don't have to take a nap, but they're very sleepy, and that's the time that they have trouble concentrating. If you're doing a job at that time, it makes it harder. So just learning how to breathe through your nose with these easy exercises is worth so much in changing the way you feel. Some other things that you never would equate with mouth breathing would be having bad dreams. I'm looking at my cheat sheet over here. Having bad dreams. You might wake up with messy sheets. Now, what in the world does messy sheets have to do with mouth breathing? Well, so glad you asked. A lot of people's legs are jumpy. They jump around. There's
Restless legs.
restless leg syndrome. There's also something called periodic limb movement. When you go and have a sleep study done, an overnight sleep study, they usually will measure the movement in your legs, but they call it sleep disordered legs, and they're very similar. So whenever you learn how to breathe through your nose, those legs calm down. And so your sheets won't be messy anymore because you'll sleep more still. Okay.
Janet, I woke up with headaches all the time.
Yeah. And they go away, I think, in about 30 minutes, but it's still annoying.
Yes.
Still annoying. Okay. Some other things are some people, whenever they're chewing their food, you might take note of some of your family members now. They'll maybe not smack their mouth while they're chewing, but you might see them every now and then opening a little corner of their mouth just to breathe in some air. That tells you that they are used to breathing through their mouth. And while they're chewing, your lips are supposed to be closed, but if you depend on your mouth for air, you'll find that you have to open your mouth to breathe while you're chewing, and then that can lead to feeling bloated. It can lead to stomach aches, pains, and it's called aerophagia, Aerophagia. You can check that out. But they all are connected to mouth breathing. Other things, I know back in the year 2003, those people, usually kids, but all age groups, that had been diagnosed with ADHD, they found that I think it was approximately 86% of those people actually were just sleep deprived. I say just. They just had never had good sleep. And so they were coming across as, attention deficit disorder, which they had because of the lack of sleep. And so that's very interesting to look into if you are dealing with someone with ADHD in medicine. Make sure that they are getting good sleep. If they aren't, that's what you need to treat. And by the way, that reminds me, this wonderful, let me get my hands on it. This wonderful study was done in Netherlands in April of 2019. Now, these doctors were concerned because of the mental disorders that are in our world, and mental disorders like PTSD, depression, anxiety, insomnia. About 2/3 of these mental issues had bad sleep as part of their symptom. They knew they weren't sleeping well, but they had these other things too. And so the medical community had been, or mental health community are treating the PTSD, treating the anxiety, treating the illness itself, but now they've done a study that shows that it's probably going to make more sense if you treat the sleep issue. Teach that person how to sleep and get into REM sleep, and then the mental issues change, and that means they improve. And I don't know the percentage of it, but it certainly makes sense. It's easier to help someone sleep well than to get rid of all those other issues, and it helps get you started with that. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting. Other people have a chronic cough, and I know that you don't think about snoring or not sleeping with chronic cough. But whenever you aren't sleeping well, when you are mouth breathing, you also aren't swallowing well. Okay, so you swallow with your tongue, so that's how that's connected. Whenever you swallow, a lot of people, their tongue pushes the back of their teeth because they have a tongue thrust. And when that happens, they have a weak swallow. And so that means that they may feel like they have something stuck in their throat. And that's because they have a weak swallow. And the peristaltic movement to get that food down is not working well because it's a weak swallow. And so whenever you do these exercises, same tongue exercises, it also trains you to swallow the new way. And you won't have that feeling that anything's stuck. It just improves swallowing, sleeping, and breathing. Those are the three things, they go together. And so these easy 7 weeks worth of exercises take care of those issues, because it makes you nasal breathe and keep your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. I think the martial arts programs, I don't know them, but I believe that they teach their students to keep their tongue on the roof of their mouth while they are training. And so, yes, that's where your tongue is supposed to be, truly supposed to be, instead of on the bottom of your mouth. And a lot of people, their tongue's on the bottom. They don't know it's not correct. They're sitting there, maybe reading, watching TV, and all of a sudden their mouth is full of saliva. It just builds up and builds up. And before they can do anything about it, gravity takes over and jerks that saliva down over the base of their tongue, and it strangles them. And they're wondering what happened. And that's what happened. You didn't swallow your saliva. You let it build up in your mouth, and gravity was in charge of that. So that's something to think about. Another thing is, so the coughing and the throat clearing. A lot of people will, after they swallow food or water, they will clear their throat a lot because they have maybe phlegm. Phlegm is like, I don't know, maybe 92 or more percent water. And so all of these things get better whenever you meet those two easy goals: tongue up on the roof of your mouth and nasal breathing. Right, Steve?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm going to tell people something else about your program that really helped me.
Okay.
I mean, you can get instructions all day long, but what Janet does is she actually walks you through each step. And it was nice having a live voice there right alongside of you,
Good.
because the first time you do it, it's different. But when the way Janet will explain it to you, which is part of her program, it helps so much. And the tongue thrust, Janet, that I had, I was always biting my tongue. Well, think about it. If your tongue is kind of too big for your mouth, guess what? When you chew, and I was always biting my
Yeah.
tongue. I don't do that anymore.
Why is that?
I call it my little green toothbrush.
It's not a
But that really
toothbrush.
helped though, Janet.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so this is special. This is called the tongue stick. It has two distinct ends to it. And this stick is you. And now I invented this stick. I actually started with clay and played with it and put it in the oven and baked it. But then I got real serious.
But it comes
And
with your program though.
it does come with my program, and the purpose of it is to make your tongue skinnier. And you may quote me on that.
Yeah.
It makes your tongue skinnier because you're going to learn how to stroke the sides of your tongue. And when you do, it's made up of all muscles. When you do, those little muscles do like that. They retract and it makes your tongue skinnier. And then your tongue muscles have muscle memory. So they remember.
Oh, it
Okay.
does.
And the fact that you keep using your tongue to eat, to maneuver that food around, you use it to talk, to make sounds. Your tongue is always working when you're eating and talking. And so when you finish my program, now you're starting with a strong, more toned tongue.
Right.
And it should stay that way. And if you start to breathe through your mouth again or something, make sure that you're not sick, but then do a couple of exercises just to remind your brain, hey, this is where you're supposed to be, tongue.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid to stop the exercises, Janet, because I'm so worried that if I stop doing the exercises, I'm going to go back to the way I was.
Okay, okay. You should not, okay, because of muscle memory, unless
I
you get
know.
unless you get sick and you can't talk or eat. Okay, but if you were to go back, just say if you were, you just start over again with the exercises.
I think when you are a snorer like I was, and you had to wear a CPAP machine, and you tried so many things like I did, all these commercials you see on TV, none of them worked for me. None of them. When
I
you find something that actually works, I guess I'm a little paranoid. You're right. I mean, if that memory stays, I mean, my tongue is now automatically at the top of the roof of my mouth.
Right. Good.
And you don't think about it all day long, but when your show comes up, I just noticed my tongue is always there now.
Okay, so that reminded me of something. I was just talking about how the saliva can build up in your mouth when your tongue is living on the bottom and you not even think about it until you're strangling. So picture this. If your tongue is living up on the roof of your mouth,
Right.
like right now, it's up there. As your saliva builds up, your tongue is already in the position to swallow it.
Wow.
Okay, right? Your tongue's
Wow.
up there, you feel the saliva, and it's easy to just swallow it. When your tongue's on the bottom, your tongue has to decide, okay, where am I going to go now to start this swallow? Okay, so that's another great reason to have your tongue up on the roof of your mouth also.
I know that I was always tired, and I knew I was tired because I wasn't getting that good sleep like you talk about. And it's very dangerous. I mean, I sometimes would find myself nodding off
But didn't you
while
also
I'm
get
driving.
I know. Didn't you also get used to feeling the way you felt when you woke up?
Yeah.
Not that you liked it, you were just used
No,
to it.
that was like,
Right.
but you know what? I don't, unless you've ever worn a CPAP machine, you don't have any idea how uncomfortable they are. I mean, I guess it's better than snoring. And I don't think people realize, Janet, that you actually stop breathing at
Well,
night.
okay, I'm glad you brought that up right quick. Let me explain. starts out as snoring. Some people, as they keep snoring year after year after year, and maybe their mouth starts opening wider, their snoring gets louder, the windows start rattling. That's really bad. At that point, oh wait, let me back up now. When you're just snoring, your tongue is partially blocking your airway, partially, so you can still breathe. Okay. But as you get older and keep doing this, one day your tongue is going to find a way to totally block your airway. And that's when you are going to wake up snorting yourself awake because your brain has just said, hey, buddy, you're not breathing. Wake up. And your significant other who is in the bed with you is going to be so excited and happy that you are breathing again because they've been watching.
Janet, we've only got less than a minute. Give
Okay.
everybody your phone number and your website address.
Okay. It's 828-273-9888. You can email me at author, AUTHOR, at IJustWantToSleep.com. You can go to www.correctmytonguethrust.com. Lots of different things. I will answer you. If you reach out to me, I will answer you. Also, when you purchase this program, you will get a free 45-minute consult with me on Zoom. And I will help, evaluate you and make sure you're not missing something else, or, that you're on the right track. And if it find out that it's not for you, then I'll tell you that and you get your money back, but that probably won't happen because it's probably for you.
Janet will be back with us again next month. Thank you so much, Janet. I love you. We'll see you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.